off this Coliseum workshop with gaming. So my first question to you, for the people who do not know you, which we have some few maybe or not, do you want to start introducing yourself? What do you do? What have you done? Over to you.
Absolutely. So, hi everyone. My name is Sébastien Borger. I'm the COO and co-founder at the Sandbox, which is like a decentralized virtual world, which now counts over 6.3 million users. I've partnered with more than 400 major brands. Our main mission is to empower anyone to become a creator, making 3D content or full games and experiences, and truly own them as NFTs by using the blockchain technology. So you can publish them on your virtual land or monetize them as you want. I'm also the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance. It's an association that now counts over 600 members, and our main mission is to educate and showcase like the possibilities of that blockchain technology brings within the video game industry.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this brief introduction. So my first question to you as a founder, but also as a gamer and a dev, I know we discussed it many times, but how does pre-launch matters for games and projects in the industry that we are in? So, to all the people who are listening to you today in this session, what is your answer on that? What does it matter to have a pre-launch approach or project?
I think it's essential. Like the launch of the game is only a tiny portion of like the overall life cycle that any game or any product and services has. And typically, the life cycle of any product now consists of the following: like all the development cycle until we have like a launch version, and afterwards, like all the live ops that comes afterwards, like to keep maintaining and engaging the users that you were able to onboard, working on retention mechanics. But before you're going to introduce and launch publicly your product, game, or services, you still have to figure out like a few core aspects. One of them is like to define like who is the core audience for your product, and typically as well like how are you going to what are like the key KPIs in terms of like retention, in terms of like eventually monetization and conversion level that your application has, and the way that that's been done specifically in the past and in gaming has been through soft launching your product. Soft launching meaning like you open access toward like a limited number of users. Usually it is recommended 10,000 at least, so you have like a statistically significant sample. It's been done on platform like the App Store, the Google Play Store before, and in like geos like Philippines, Indonesia, or Canada, for example, where you have like users with same kind of behaviors that you will find on like core markets, and you will use those KPIs to understand better who are your core audience, how they behave, and how they convert toward your product. If you apply those principles toward Web3, usually you could still have like beta access, giving access to certain users who are part of your community and maybe are already following you on channels like Telegram or Discord that have shown interest in testing early the product, providing feedback in beta, and so on. But beyond that, what's important is it helps you to actually refine better the persona of who is the target audience for your product. Because the biggest mistake you can do is to say my product is for everybody. I'm building something for everybody. Like usually when you say everybody, you essentially say nobody, and you don't have like a clear idea of like who is going to be your first cohort of users that are the most likely to use your product for and to engage with it. So the pre-launch plan includes the definition of a strategy of like identifying like who is this core group of users, this core persona that the product in the current stage that we'll have at the launch, and it can be an MVP stage or like just a V1 with not a whole feature set, will still be interested and will target. How you actually target this kind of audience? Is it by partnership with established actors and other projects in the Web3 ecosystem? Is it by user acquisition targeting competitor products or services that you identified? Is it through certain communities, Discord channel, Telegram group, etc., or other strategies? And that pre-launch plan, in my opinion, is essential because like you do not want to miss on your launch to have already a core, very engaged user base. If I take the example of Sandbox, Sandbox is a user-generated content platform, meaning like anyone can use our creation tool to build their own 3D content and characters like this, like you're seeing on behind me, or full worlds and experiences. When we launch, it's not because like anyone can build anything that it is sufficient as a value proposition when we launch initially. Meaning like if we were to launch a platform where anyone can do anything, and on the first day, users come in and they see no content. Yes, they can create it, but it's not exciting. It's not engaging them to discover what others have made. So it's actually showing them a place where like anyone can make content they want, but it's totally empty because no one made any content yet. So the go-to-market, the launch plan for us was actually to prepare several months in advance, pre-onboarding creators that we identified, players from Minecraft, players from Roblox, people who do voxel art or pixel art, giving them an early access to our product that allows us to collect beta feedback on the product and study how they behave using the product, and letting them create content in advance that would be featured at the launch. So on the day of the launch, we already had like 1,000 creators who made 10,000 creation, and anyone entering Sandbox looking at the content available would already see like, yes, it's a UGC platform. Yes, there is already content. Yes, I'm inspired and I want to participate and contribute. And that really changed the whole perception, even though the product is the same. Ultimately, joining a UGC platform with no other creator, no other content would actually be a massive failure. And that's what a lot of other UGC platforms are actually doing. They just think like because you provide the tool, people will do it. The pre-launch plan is about like you provide the tool and you showcase how it's been used already by a certain core group to grow and extend by network effect and user acquisition that pool of other users who share the similar pattern and behavior and will allow your product to grow to success. So this is one of the aspects. The other aspect of like that launch plan should include, of course, like budgeting around like how much you're going to spend on the different channel of acquisition. If you choose to work with streamers or influencers, if you choose to work with specific partnership, if you choose to do like airdrop of token, it is still a cost in a way of acquisition indirectly. If you choose to create like an event, a launch event, meetup, and so on, all of that needs to be prepared and planned in advance.
Thank you. This is very useful. I think that, for the people who are building a project or games, it's very useful because you have mentioned a few things that are very important. It's don't go to market if you didn't even build, a community first, right? Make them test it, make them kind of like it and take it over. So that's one of the key things when you're putting a project out. And what I also heard, Sebastian, is that you reach out to people from the web 2, so people from other games than web 3 related. So that's another cool thing that project needs to bear in mind. We cannot only look into our style of industry, we need to go beyond, and this is how we get the good feedback but also engagement from others, and this is how we build up a bigger community. Thank you so much for this insightful information. My second question to you, which comes often, at least I know some of the Solana team has asked, is from your perspective, we have seen a lot of launch, token launch recently. So I would love to have your view on that. Would you say it's timing in terms of strategy, or is it more of riding a hype in the industry? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. Well, there's always this question like when is the right time to introduce a token and like how like that token will actually which purpose, which utility that token will serve for your product or community. And I think like the timing right now is a bit challenging. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was easier to launch a token without a product. Nowadays, introducing a token with no concrete utility, so I'm not talking about meme coin here, but I'm really talking. I suppose that you guys are building some kind of product and you want to leverage a token to support the economy of it. It's always better to have an actual product that this token can be consumed onto, and to actually do what we call fair launch, meaning reward first the users that have been participating to build, contributing to build that product, testing that product, are already engaged with the token first before giving the tokens, and hence the incentive to all like external actors like investors, KOL, etc. And why is that? It's because you want to reward first the user that will retain the most on your product. The token is an instrument that allows you to bootstrap your liquidity, to fundraise eventually, or to drive like network effect. Like we've seen that before. But if it falls short of like a real usage, a real product adoption, so having some concrete utility behind, we already know that it's only an attention game, a hype game. And in Web3, the incentive or the opportunity to turn that token into something else, it's something that constantly an arbitrage that is available for users. It didn't exist in Web 2 because those were virtual currencies. Whether you received them or you didn't, and you didn't consume them, they were sitting and you couldn't do anything else of it. But in Web 3, we gave the opportunity to turn into like a financial revenue any token. And so users choose like always, like, do they want to consume some token for the benefit of the service, the game, the fun it brings, the utilities they gain from it? Or do they want to hold it to start generating some yield? Or do they want to swap it to actually get something else of value that they could potentially grow higher? Those competing elements, like this is always, and this is constantly an arbitrage that the users have to do. And sometimes developers don't really realize that. And so they complain that we did an airdrop of token, we got some users, the user didn't engage, they swapped the token out, and they left. So we lost money. We only convert very few. I don't think it's only the mistake of the user's behavior. It's really the way like we bring, it's the opportunities that Web3 brings. So you have to be aware about that. And being aware of that, then you have to retro engineering and think essentially, okay, so some users will exit my token. What value proposition do I create so that when I launch my token, there is a higher chance that the user will convert that token into my product, into my service? That's the first point. The second point is you also have to look at generally the market sentiment and the macroeconomics. Like there's been very few new token launches on centralized exchanges. Many of them are not driving high TVL. They don't get a lot of like retail, meaning not a lot of consumer buying the token on the market. That's a challenge. That means like the market forces are already against building up value on tokens. Bitcoin, ETH, or Solana are still driving the narrative, and they are the token that usually capture the most value as well. And in the Solana ecosystem, it might be also maybe more difficult because the most successful application has been Pump Fund, which educated a lot of users who onboarded Solana for the first time that the first and main utility of Solana chain is to actually buy token to swap them immediately for the short benefit, the short profit versus the long-term utility. So there is pros. Solana has a fantastic user base, many technical benefits, and so on. Onboard a lot of users to Web3 for the first time. But the cons is like it requires more education and a higher value proposition to convert that pool of users that the chain provide as an ecosystem into actual users for your product and service you're building on upon the chain.
Another golden nuggets that you have dropped. Thank you so much again for all this insightful information. Because as you said, token has to be useful for the community, for the project itself. Which takes me to maybe my third question in the context. When projects on Web3 are building in general and in the ecosystem of Solana, what are your thoughts in partnership a network, what is the effect on the project? So let's think that, Solana today is with the Super UK team are doing a partnership with the Blockchain Game Alliance. So we can see the success out of it. But for partnering with the right players for them, like creators, infrastructures, exchanges, what are your thoughts? Is it like something that they need to think of from the first moment they are building the project, or is it more like a midterms vision, or maybe leave it for after? What do you think of that?
So I do think like partnership is essential, and one of the key aspect of Web3 is the network effect that you benefit from the different partnership, the choice of the chain, the partnership with certain application, exchange, or other game. What's interesting in Web3 versus Web2 is like when you acquire a user from another application, when you do a partnership, it's not like actually trading or taking away a user from your partner to get into your ecosystem so it stays. Like the fact that the value of the user keeps building up as they can move across different applications, both partners are always winning in the partnership. They get exposure to different users, they get maybe, let's say like you do a partnership where you enable your user to actually get some benefit into another application. When they come back to your application, they have gaining value because they have more token in their wallet, they have new NFTs, they gain new skills, and they can move freely across the two. So that's why I usually encourage partnership. I think it is an important strategy, and like it's one that brings you the visibility, that grow the value of your user base, that grow your user base in size, that give you uh, like the ability as well eventually to convert users to do more by being in partners. So I always say like we are stronger together. It's the slogan actually of like the BGA. However, I encourage meaningful partnership in a sense like if it's just an announcement, if behind when people read it, they say, okay, but so what? Like that's the number one question you have to think. So what? Like you, company A, company B announce a partnership. What does it mean concretely for the user? What can they do right now after reading that? Many projects, they do just MOU, they do LOI, they just do an announcement, company A, company B partner, but there is nothing concrete behind. So they don't gain from the partnership. They just gain from the PR effect, maybe some social noise about it, which is very short-lived. But if you can have a concrete user journey, I read this partnership, I click on the call to action in the link, I can benefit from this in this application, and when I come back, it benefits back to me into the other application. Here, that's a meaningful partnership that really benefit both. So that's something we've done at Sandbox in the past as well. Like a lot of the early growth strategy from Sandbox. Just to share some stories, back in the days, um, Sandbox was not necessarily the leading decentralized virtual world. Many people were thinking like, what's the metaverse about? What are the leader in the blockchain gaming space? And they were always thinking Decentraland, 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 Decentraland. Sandbox didn't even exist. Like I was actually very frustrated that people didn't know we existed. Like no press release was mentioning Sandbox. Nobody came to us. But progressively, as we started to do more of those partnerships, we enabled utility for people who came from other ecosystem. Like our level of awareness start to raise, our user base start to rise, to grow, and ultimately we started to appear more and more in the media in a good way with concrete examples, and ultimately, people became more aware that we existed along other metaverse platform. So that's again, like for us, it's been a good strategy to follow if it's applied once again with a real meaning and a real utility behind.
Which thank you so much. I mean, it takes me to something very important when you talk about everybody was looking at Decentraland versus Sandbox and all this media attention. That takes me to my favorite question, which I kind of like, would love the audience to really focus on, which is, as a matter of fact, real users versus vanity metrics. What does it mean concretely? What kind of KPIs or metrics do we need to follow? Because many are going on X and finding, like, 100 retweets, thousands of messages. Such as metrics are like vanity or engagement or real money. So are we chasing the wrong metrics for the vanity versus the money? What's your thought on that?
Well, I'm without any surprise, I'm always like a fan of like actual users. I think like the vanity metric should be a byproduct of actually having like a real engaged community. If you only have like a huge number of Telegram followers or members in the chat room, if you only have like a lot of Discord users or a lot of social and likes on your post, but no actual user of your product, those are vanity metrics. What good does it do? Yes, it can give you visibility. Yes, maybe it can support your acquisition, the attention that you get. But if it's not translating into like actual user for the product, it will fall short as soon as like that attention, those vanity, those users who are member move to something else. Like the best way to retain is still like through actual product, actual content. The however, if you do not have attention, if you don't have validity and you don't have product, that's it's difficult. Sometimes the biggest problem is having a great product and no attention. Like, okay, I have a great product, it's functional, people can use it, but I'm struggling to get likes, I'm struggling to build a community and so on. Actually, that's the best problem to have because, like, with the product progressively and step by step, you will be able to grow an actual and engaged user base. Now, if you just launch a channel, you have lots of users, but what are they doing if they are not using your product? They are just chatting with each other. Unless you're amazing at building IP, at building franchise, you can launch a product and a hype just by talking to people and engaging them. We very few people have succeeded at doing that, right? To me, like there's very limited example from Bored Ape, maybe Cool Cat or Pugsy Penguin until like they build something and it really become a massive movement. Some meme coin have done that, and yet like Doge, Pepe, Shiba, Dogs Wizard, Chill Guy, and a few others. But that how many in total versus the reality of the number of projects and applications that have been built. Um, so I like to think it's not as important to have million of followers or million of members, but it's important to have a few hundred to a few thousand highly engaged users that progressively will turn in 10 of thousand, 100 of thousand, and hopefully million of users and followers.
Fantastic, fantastic. I really love it. Which takes kind of like, it's connecting really the dot from the start of this conversation, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm hoping that everyone who is listening to us, who is in the room, who is live, please do drop your questions or kind of come closer to the camera if you are in on site and ask your question to Sebastian, because I think this is really experience talking. It's kind of years of being on the field and on the trenches. Sebastian, you talked about this metrics, you talked about building this users community, but many of us in the field talk about community, but they are not users. Sometimes there is this confusion. From your point of view, why founders should differentiate between having a passing follower, someone who is like there, and an active users or an active product users, someone who likes and retweet and stuff like that is good ambassadors, but the role is to have real users on the ground. So how, from your experience, do we convert this community hype into really product market fit at the end for any project that we are talking today?
Like what's great in Web3 is like actually anyone can contribute in different way to build up like the reputation, the brand, and be part of the community. So having people who talk well about your product that help you to onboard the product is valuable and should be rewarded. Having this kind of community users who are like engaging, maybe running for you some IMAs, writing tutorials and guidelines to onboard users to your product It's very important. It's valuable. They should be rewarded with tokens eventually if you have some, and you should look up to have some uh, of that audience because they help you to ac- grow that network effect. Not being alone, but having someone, a few people, or many people that helps you on that way. So I do think it always have value to have community, specifically if it's helping you to increase the number and the attention. However, like any business, like needs to have like a user base, needs to have users, needs to actually create and think about the path to monetization, like how do they convert. When users only talk about your product and help you to attract new members, if it doesn't convert into actual users for your product, like it doesn't translate behind into like revenue and usage. And usually, most of the businesses that look um, they're still being valued on their user base. They're still being valued on the revenues they generate from the user. They are not being valued on the size of the community, the number of ambassadors, the number of posts, the number of likes. So they are the two levels. The two are important, but for different reasons. And as a founder, you should look to encourage having both, ideally. Tokens can help you to grow like the fan base, the community base, to create those incentives to have people who drive those users to your product. And product allows you to basically like drive people in, retain them, and monetize them. If I take the example of Sandbox again, like there's many more people who are familiar with Sandbox by just knowing it from the name. Having Sand token, having maybe some lands or some NFTs. They bought it at some point of time because they were interested in virtual real estate. A friend of them recommended them to get Snoop Dogg because it was live and so on. But they are not necessarily player or creator of Sandbox. Yet they are valuable users. They are part of our community. We cater to them. We create events for them. We reinforce that. And at the same time, we have users who are actual users of the product, which are spending 1 hour a day, 2 hour a day playing our experience, who are collecting the rewards, who are publishing new content on the map. And when we report our metric, when we share to the community, the first thing people look at is like the most tangible, so like the user of the product on the platform. The second is like the size of the recognition, the brand you establish that supports you beyond. And now, like, how do where is the opportunity? The opportunity is like always, like, how do I convert the larger pool, the one where people are already familiar with our brand, into possibly one day a user of my product?
Thanks, Sebastian. I think that, it's a very nice session so far. At least, we have a lot of good feedback. We have a big hi from the Berlin building station. So, hi to you guys too. I'm sure that you're enjoying all this alpha information from Seb. One question that comes across is, do you have any pointers for public goods project in particular when it comes to go to market? Is there any advice or one tip on the top of your head?
Yeah, so we've done several collaboration at Sandbox with various NGOs, charities, etc. What really worked well in the past is actually people were actually the let's say that the charitable action is a byproduct of the core action. So people come to play, they play different games, different experience, they complete quests, I don't know, like parkour game, completing with others and so on. And the result of their action in game is actually contributing to like a bigger pool of rewards or more impact toward like the charitable goal. So it actually helped what it created is like this meaning that collaboratively our community of players, the more they play, the more they are doing good. It gave a meaning to an action that they were doing before all the time. And now they have another purpose that is like not only we are playing, we're having fun, but also we are doing it in a way that contributes to like supporting this positive goal, this charitable goal. We found it works usually better than if we say, hey, join our product to do a positive action right now, and it gives, because then the purpose is less attractive, unfortunately. It doesn't sound as fun, and people might join less because the core interest is still like, I want to play, I want to have fun. I don't want just to do that for the sake of doing the positive action. So it's interesting. I think it's been studied a lot, not just in blockchain, but also in gamification in general. How do you get people to keep playing? How do you keep people to keep progressing, doing some tasks that sometimes they don't like learning, for example, or like participating into DAO, into governance, into voting, into surveys as well. How do you incentivize someone to get into a user survey for any kind of product? Well, if you give them $100 Amazon gift card, if you make them win a PlayStation or some crypto, the engagement rate and participation rate increase. So it's all about like figuring out what's the right incentive and not what the core action should be. So that's why, like in our case, we found like it was always more attractive and efficient to make it a byproduct of the actual intention and goal rather than the actual destination itself.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks, Seb. So let's go to the community questions. Who at the building station would like to ask a question? Now it's over to you, gentlemen and ladies. Because we can't see much out there. We are just on our little screen.
Hi, Seb. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend it with us. Quick question from me. Overrated and underrated in go-to-market strategies. So for me, I'm working particularly in RWA markets, and I'm seeing a lot of synergies between more classic like Web 2 marketing versus kind of like the other side being Web 3. I'm seeing success with both sides. So I just kind of wanted to get your kind of insight on classic Web 2 user acquisition journeys versus Web 3, and then potentially some overrated, underrated for go-to-markets.
Interesting. Great question. So it's something like it's been pointed out already before by Yasmina, and I thought it was great. Like in a way, sometimes we don't necessarily highlight so much the Web3 side of like the product to attract our audience. And I think sometimes Web3 and blockchain is overrated. Like it's great if the user are already familiar with what the technology, what it means, what it brings, essentially. And sometimes it can convert because the total addressable pool of audience is large enough, those users are valuable or ultra valuable, you know their wallet, you can target them efficiently. But sometimes it's unnecessary at the first step. Like you should focus on like what's the essential value proposition that you bring to them that is attractive enough for them to be interested. So in the case of Sandbox, like it's been like play game with Snoop Dogg. It's not like buy Snoop Dogg NFT now, like that. You see the difference, and I do feel like Web3 products tend to under-evaluate the power of just like being simple about like what they offer. If I apply that to real-world assets, I don't know if it's about like real estate or it's like another category of assets. What is it that you offer them? Is it like to invest? Is it to tokenize? Is it to so I can, if maybe you can tell me, I can help to be a bit more specific around that example.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we tokenize real estate. So it's via an investing vehicle. So investing in fractionalized versions of real estate across Europe is what we do specifically.
Great. And you do that through like you create SPVs or vehicle LLCs, right? And then you allow people to invest. Okay. I guess like the underrated value proposition is to very specifically and simply speak the language. Like, do you want to actually invest your money without having to choose the place? You just want to know like it is a high grade, high traffic, high return location, and that's all you need. And you can invest as small as $100, $1,000. You remove all the complexity. You don't need to talk, oh, we are tokenized real world assets, so you can actually yield them and generate some returns. It's already too complex. So sometimes what I like when I use those traditional Web2 social media, TikTok, Instagram, is like how good they are into making the value proposition ultra simple, not emphasizing too much around like how it's being done. The fact that you use blockchain, the rail, the fact that it can be fractionalized. Fractionalized is already a complex world. Like who understands concretely what fractionalization means actually? So yeah, back to basics is sometimes underrated.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it sounds like you've gone through my marketing collateral already. That's exactly how we speak about it. And to us, that's why we're finding a lot more traction amongst Web2 users. Like a lot of them don't actually know they're using Web3 Rails, which is particularly unique for us as well, which is cool.
And do they need to like they only need the need to swap easily that later when they want to sell it again? Like that might only come after a few months or a few years. So maybe that's not the first thing you will sell to them. And
Yeah,
also sometimes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And in marketing, often you don't sell the product. The number one lesson is you sell an experience, you sell a feeling. You sell the idea of like owning. What does it mean to own a piece of real estate? What's the mental state of being the owner of something that generates some revenue for you, where you make savings and so on?
Yeah, that's something that I'm focusing in and doubling down on is like making sure the people who are investing feel like they're owning the underlying asset, because it's an exciting path that people go down. It's something you want to shout about. So having those like shareable moments is super important. Appreciate it.
Then that's a great point. It usually comes to then the storytelling. If you're able to identify specific landmark, identifiable buildings in those cities of Europe, and you say, for the first time, you can own a piece of that beautiful chateau, of that beautiful Hôtel de Ville, or place that used to have a great history before because it was, I don't know, a big market that's being repurposed and so on, or now it's turning into a nice hotel. They might also enjoy it as well without. And the second thing is like to think about like how do you break certain mental barrier about the idea like ownership means full ownership, like you can only own a full building, a full apartment, a full studio, uh, versus owning a piece of it, owning a timeshare of it. Like the marketing of timeshare, I think is very interesting how they've done it and how they reverted the idea of like it was actually not bad to reuse the same property and maximize or like its usability and return on investment based on that.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Can I ask a little?
Yeah.
Bastian, so I'm working with Family. We are online digital casino, and we're building new games like hamster racing, Beyblade fights, treadmill racing, and marbles. And we already developed like a marketing strategy. We have a huge team of creators that have like billions of views in traditional social media, like TikTok and YouTube. But now we're trying to like think about how we're gonna convert all this traffic to actually get users on our website, and people can gamble on the website.
So they are gambling. The main platform, is it like a Telegram mini app? Is it a TikTok
It's a
mini
web
app?
app. It's a web app. We actually have split the business into two parts. One is What the Fuck Leagues, which is gonna be the social media part, and then it's Fun Play, which is the casino, and that people can gamble on. And apart from that, also we're hosting live shows every week and featuring guests just to have more brand awareness and something IRL. But yeah,
Okay,
that's
cool. So it's mostly a problem to understand like how you convert an audience from a certain platform like mobile to like continue their journey with a user account and so on desktop. Well, first of all, uh,
yeah. um,
how, you should survey based on like the geos of your audience. Do they have actually a desktop? Yeah, like it might be surprising, but a lot of like casino players, for example, in Southeast Asia, they play on mobile, but they don't have a computer at home. So there's not even the question of it. The second, I think it's a matter of incentive again. Like for example, if you're able and communication channels. So typically, when they are on the mobile, you target them with push notification to come back to the game and so on. To bring them to use a PC, normally it's email. Email CRM actually is very much underrated, but it still converts very well in terms of marketing. People tend to forget that. If you're able to send them an email that they open later when they're on their desktop, and you say, look, like if you play a certain time from your desktop, from your computer, you double your gain on certain day. Maybe you start building a habit where like, hey, by the way, when I'm home as well, I can play on a larger device and I earn a bit more. It's a higher acquisition cost for you, maybe, but it's a way that you can make sure they stay under the other platform as well.
Oh, okay. So yeah, like for that regarding like web app and mobile, we're gonna have a Telegram like mobile app as well that people can gamble from Telegram, and also a game that they can gather points and convert to like a token at some point. But yeah, then thank you for your info.
Sure. I think like basically a user who was able to use all those different apps will be more valuable. So maybe like create like achievement or on their profile, you connect it today, this week, you connect it from all 4 devices. Congrats, you unlocked a certain bonus. That can be an interesting way for having them across your ecosystem of apps.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Any more questions, everyone?
Hi there. We're building a Solana native hardware wallet. It's called Unruggable. It's essentially a crypto hardware wallet that's only designed for Solana, so there's no multi-chain. It's basically designed for a Solana user experience. Like existing hardware wallets are multi-chain, so they're designed for like Ethereum and Bitcoin, and then the Solana experience is kind of more secondary. So our marketing and branding approach is that security is a pretty boring topic in terms of like marketing. It's not very exciting, and users, I think we're trying to figure out like a way to make the branding and the marketing appealing, but also talk about the seriousness of like self-custody in crypto. So do you have any advice on like how, from a go-to-market perspective, we can? Yeah, what the marketing graphics?
Yeah, because it's like an anime.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
sure.
I can quickly show you some graphics quick. But I think what we're trying to do is find a balance between. There you go.
So being able to take the anime as like way to try and sell the story, and a bit more gamified, a bit more story driven as how do you sell security in a way that people can abide by and engage with.
That sounds fun. Actually, like I love to see like the frog in anime like this, is it Naruto style? That's pretty cool. Like yeah, usually the way you sell security is either like threatening the user of the risk or like making it really nice and attractive in a way. I guess it also comes down to the price point of the hardware wallet.
Yeah.
And a lot of education. I don't know. So there's essentially 2 market leaders in wallet security, Trezor and Ledger. I think Ledger really took over most of the market. I don't know what's the market penetration of Ledger for Solana blockchain specifically. So that might require a bit of understanding if like the niche is large enough for you to actually position yourself only into that niche before actually Ledger does, and why if you have like what's your unfair advantage. Indeed, like if you're already very closely connected to certain community, if some community will actually partner with you to become your distributor. Recently, Pug Penguin did a collaboration with Ledger. Sandbox did a collaboration with Ledger. So in a way, we became distributor of their wallet to our communities that help them on the branding and storytelling. So it's great you build yourself one, definitely. Maybe start introducing in your anime other Solana characters, meme coin, etc. And every episode, use it as a way for them to make them sell your product, and why make them earn a commission as well, maybe. So then they will. And then the challenge, usually in the hardware selling industry, you might be aware, but it's a one-time revenue. So usually people will buy it once, and then Ledger pivoted a lot. They still sell the hardware wallet, but the most of the revenue comes now from the services, a little bit like Apple and iTunes, like selling once the iPod or selling the subscription to iTunes Music.
Yeah, we have a similar model as well, where we have the hardware sales, so the upfront costs, and then we have we get recurring revenue. We have a mobile and desktop wallet application that goes with the hardware wallet, so similar to like Ledger Live, just for like a Solana user one. So we get micro fees every time people send transactions on the apps. So we kind of have the upfront and recurring revenue, but so we're taking like a similar approach to Ledger as well, and we want to do the like custom wallets. So kind of like how Ledger have done with like Pudgy Penguins recently, and with you guys, we want to kind of basically just approach existing Solana communities like Mad Lads or Claynosaurs or insert whatever Solana community, and or like Super Team, and make customized hardware wallets. So yeah, it's something that we've been thinking about as well. But yeah, thanks for the help.
Great, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
No, I think we should be all good.
Yeah. We're good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Well, then we're gonna wrap this session by thanking Sebastian for his time and all this advice, and thanking everybody at the Super Team UK for making this happen, guys.
Awesome. No, I appreciate it. Thank you for joining us, Sebastian and Yasmina.
Thank you,
My
everyone.
pleasure.
Hope that was useful. Great question, and hopefully meet you in person. I don't know if I can put my contact somewhere on the chat. Like, feel free to follow up if you have any question later on as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. I think that Stephen has another workshop from the VGA members coming tomorrow, right, on tokenomics. So just reach out to our members and everyone so we can help you. Okay?
Cheers.